Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of the global SIGA community and friends of sport around the world. More than 4 centuries ago, Shakespeare wrote, "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves." He did not condemn, he warned. A warning that failure is rarely about fate. It is about choices. Leadership, governance, regulation, scrutiny, these are the instruments of choice. Global sports today stand at such a moment. When leadership falters, when governance is poor, when regulation is weak, and when independent scrutiny is absent, vulnerabilities grow. And too often they persist, not because solutions are unknown, but because apathy replaces engagement, convenience replaces reform, and courage is left behind. We speak of corruption, match fixing, money laundering, tax evasion, racism, discrimination, and the growing influence of transnational organized crime. If these were unavoidable byproducts of success, they are not. They are the result of choices. Choices made and choices avoided. Sport has never been more popular, more influential, and more powerful. It reaches billions, it shapes cultures, it shapes identities and communities across borders. Yet, it is also a victim of its own success and of a persistent lack of global leadership, poor governance, weak regulation, and insufficient independent scrutiny. Sport now stands at a delicate crossroads. The very power has made sport increasingly vulnerable to exploitation, to abuse, to illicit influence. If we take a step back and we look honestly at the full picture, we see a sector that has too often been away from these values. In many ways, have allowed entertainment to eclipse integrity, money to outrun regulation, and the star system and neon lights to dilute accountability, and indifference to take root where leadership should stand. Let us be honest. The greatest threat to sport today is not complexity, it's precisely complacency. We know the risks, we have identified them, we have mapped them, we have named them, and we have designed the solutions to prevent them, to mitigate them, and to hold those responsible to account. Yet, what has been missing is not awareness, but resolve and political will to change. Integrity, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be symbolic. It cannot be optional. It cannot be delegated. It must be embedded at the very heart of governance, decision-making, and organizational culture. And so, I ask a crucial question, a question that leaves no one untouched. Against this background, what are you prepared to do? You, leaders of international and continental federations. You, governments, public authorities, and international organizations, whose mission is to protect public interest and whose policies, laws, and enforcement decisions shape the regulatory environment in which sport operates. You, the owners, the chairmen, the CEOs of professional leagues and clubs who control the platforms, the resources, and the daily realities of modern sport, and whose leadership sets the tone for millions who follow. You also, the CEOs, the chief marketing officers, the general counsels, and the compliance officers of the world's largest sponsors, broadcasters, and investors, whose decisions shape sports economy and culture. You, the athletes, whose talent gives sport its meaning and whose voices carry moral authority. You, the media, who choose every day between scrutiny and silence. You, the fans, whose passion sustains sport and whose expectation define its limits. And yes, you, all of us, inevitably, whenever silence becomes comfort and comfort becomes complicity. Because integrity in sport will not be secured by statements alone. Mark my words, it will be secured only when those with power choose responsibility over convenience, accountability over comfort, and action over applause. That is why SIGA was created. And this is why SIGA exists. SIGA was not born by accident. It was deliberately created to confront a simple but vital challenge: to restore integrity, accountability, and credibility to global sport. This was never an abstract ambition. It was and remains a moral imperative and an institution responsibility. And while we have made real and measurable progress, our mission is not yet complete. SIGA is not a form of rhetoric. It is not a substitute for institutions. It is a global platform for commitment, for credibility, for accountability. And because leadership begins with example, I would never ask of you what I am not prepared to do myself. So let me answer the very question I have asked all of you. What am I prepared to do? I will tell you, on this very day, during the week we commemorate the 9th anniversary of SIGA's Constitution as a legal entity, I reaffirm my commitment to this mission. I am here, and I will continue. Today, I formally declare my candidacy for a third and final mandate as SIGA Global CEO. I do so with purpose. I do so with conviction. In accordance with the SIGA statutes and governance processes, the SIGA Council has unanimously and by acclamation expressed its support to my candidacy. That support, ladies and gentlemen, strengthens my responsibility, but it does not lessen it. This is not about tenure. It is about continuity of purpose. It is about completing the work we began together. It is about consolidating progress. And it is about ensuring that integrity, transparency, and accountability, as well as good governance, become permanent standards in global sport. This term, dear SIGA members and friends in sport integrity, is not an extension of power. It is a commitment to deliver, to prepare the future, and to ensure that this movement is stronger than any one individual, including myself. The objective is clear: to leave SIGA stronger, more resilient, and irreversibly established as the global authority on sport integrity. The fault, ladies and gentlemen, is not indeed in our stars. The responsibility is ours. I have made my choice. What about you? What are you prepared to do?